What is up, everybody? My name is Malos, and today we are going to talk about another track. My friend Ralph challenged me to make a song out of a single sample. Here's a sample. So let's talk about the first thing I did, which is the kick and the snare. The section of the sample that I used was this. I used that last part because it had a nice transient. Bit crusher, overdrive, erosion. Then I used reverb to add the tail, and EQ. What I did with this EQ is I took out all of the lows and boosted some mids, took out the extreme highs to add some tonality to it. Free clip. Up next is the kick. The kick and the snare basically use the same sample. Without any effects, it sounds like this. I just pitched it down. I used M auto pitch. I used the format shift to shift it down and detune to shift it up. Next is overdrive. Then I use wave shaper. Next up is OTT, transient processor to add a nice transient, and parametric EQ to shape it even more. Then free clip. After that, we have this sound, which is basically just the bird sound. Here it is without effects. I started out with an EQ to take out some frequencies to make it more muffled. So this is before, this is after. Then I use erosion to distort it a little and add some noise. Then overdrive to distort it even more. Next is EQ to boost some mid frequencies and take out the lows. Next is free clip so that it doesn't distort too much. Then another erosion to add some more distortion. Then reverb. What I did with the reverb here is I automated the dry signal. Then next is a fruity clipper. I started structuring the whole intro, and what I did is I added this pre-impact and then followed it up with the kick to make the first sound more impactful. And some ambience. I added some thunder effects and some rainy ambience. And I used the peak part of this riser, and I made a pattern for this section. The transition to this section is a cymbal and some more risers. This drum loop isn't made from the sample. I made this myself. And then I just teased the bird sound here. That's pretty much it, and it plays on to this section onto the build-up. This sound right here came from the sample, and it sounds like this. I used delay with a very short delay time. Then I added vocodecs to make it sound like this. Next is Ninja, which is just a guitar amp. Next is OTT to bring out some more harmonics. Then Fruity parametric EQ. Then I boosted the mids to make it sound like this. And then this is an automated reverb. I automated the dry signal again to make it hit harder in the drop. Then a limiter. This is not sidechaining. Why is it there? I will remove it. This is useless. So that's pretty much it for this section. Onto the build-up. I used the blip sound again. This automation clip is controlling vocodecs and the EQ. It's drowned by reverb, and the dry signal slowly comes in, and as that fades in, the low frequencies are also faded in. I didn't really use any risers except for this cymbal crash. And this is where the drop starts. I started off with the birds without effects. And these are the effects that I used. I added a bit crusher, then erosion, then amp sim, some EQ. What I did here is I took out all of the low end to make it sound better. The drop comes in. This is the white noise again. I used it to add some high frequencies for the drop. This is just the sub bass that I consolidated and added a lot of effects on. Without effects, it sounds like this. I put an EQ to take out the frequencies below the sub to make it less muddy, then boosted the sub. Then I added a bit crusher again, but instead of using the bit crusher, I used the downsampling, and then I boosted up a bit of the drive as well to add some more gain. And I added erosion. What else did I add here? Oh, I used the bird sample up here to make this pattern. It's pretty glitchy. It was the effect that I was trying to go for. And I used the blip sound to just yoink it out there. Then after that is just these two breakdown sections. I went for a glitchy approach. This is how it sounds like. Oh, and this is a layer. It's just part of the same bird sound. It's right over there. I chopped it up to make it layer this, because without that layer, it just sounds cool. And this is like the B section of the drop. Nothing new. I just used this sample, which came from this again. But for this section, I pitched it up way high. Then there's another breakdown section. Using the same alarm sound from the intro, I used the layer that I used to do this. After this breakdown section is the second drop, which I used the sample again. I used this. And then I just used it as vocal chop. I switched up the sub pattern here, something a little more simple. The drums don't really do much. I added the clicky thing for a hi-hat sort of sound. There's a cymbal to end it all off, and then the impact. That was it. So now let's listen to the whole song. So that's the song. Let me know what you think in the comments, and yeah, I'll see you later.